Today you see a super beautiful raglan sleeve woven top that is a free pattern. At least it's free right now. The length might be a little bit controversial though. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I'm here to follow up on the Sew Frugal Challenge. On the 10th of March, I posted a video sharing with you 11 free patterns that I've actually tested and tried and worn, and I'm very happy to recommend. Thank you so much for all your comments there. I hope you got a lot of free patterns from there and that was inspiring. Now, I mentioned there that my plan for the Sew Frugal Challenge on Instagram was going to be the Frankie dress from Seamwork. And the same day that I published that episode, it was not free anymore. And it had been free for quite a while, I'd say at least 2 or 3 months. So I had to change my plans. A few days later, I found out that Seamwork had another free pattern, brand new. This top is called Madhu. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce this, so I'm pronouncing it as I see it. Madhu. It's super cute. It's for woven fabrics. It's got raglan sleeves. It's got a scoop neckline. It hits the waist, so it's a shorter top. Now, the cutest thing about this one are the casings. Casings here on the neckline, on the end of the sleeves, and at the hem where you put 1/4 inch elastic through. It brings everything in. So nice. I thought it was so adorable when I saw it. Totally a style that I would like to wear. Although the only asterisk I had here was the length. I don't usually do well with things that reach exactly at my waist. I don't feel too comfortable. So I was umming and ahhing about how much I wanted to lengthen this, because you can't just go ahead and lengthen it a whole lot, because then it might not fit the hip and it would mess up the style as well. So you're going to see I did do some tweaking here. If you're loving this content and it's really helpful for your own sewing, please tap on the like button. Do not step away from this video without doing that. It really helps the channel out a lot here on YouTube. You need light to medium weight fabric for this one. You can use drapey fabric or you can use structured fabric. You know, it's going to look beautiful regardless. I think if you use structured fabric, it's just going to be easier to work with. All types of cottons, poplin, sea sucker, broderie anglaise is gorgeous. That was my fabric choice here. A chambray. You can use rayon twill, tencel. You just need one other notion here, which is about 3.5 yards of 1/4 inch elastic. That is what goes here, here, and on the hem. The sizing is in 2 drafts. From 00 to 16 is drafted for a C cup, 5'8", and then from 12 to 26, double D cup for 5'9". So those are the 2 ranges that you can choose. If you are a size 12 to 16 and you overlap both of these drafts, just go with the one that will fit your bust cup size better. Remember, sewing cup sizes have to do with the upper bust and the full bust, the difference there. So a C cup would be 3 inches, double D would be 5 inches. I think go to the one that suits you the best and you're going to have a great fit. I love that they have these cup size options here. I think it's really nice. But then again, this top isn't that sensitive to cup sizes. You know, there's no darts, there's no fitted bodices, all that sort of thing. But I do love that they have a curve on the front and it's slightly longer than the one on the back, to account for all that excess length that you get from the bust that just goes forward. Now, if you're sewing the C cup size option, you're going to have 6 inches of space here at the bust. If you're doing the double D cup option, you're going to have 11 inches of space around the bust. At the waist, the finished measurement says 0. It's not actually 0, it's 0 because you have that elastic coming in. But actually, there's quite a lot of ease if you didn't put an elastic in there. I kept putting the tape measure on the body in the mirror and thinking, no, I just can't do it. So I thought 1.5 inches was a safe amount to add without distorting the style too much, without making it too long, and just making it comfortable for me. You'll see when I model it, some of you might not like it, but I like it. You do have shorten and lengthen lines here on the front and the back piece for you to cut and spread, and that's what I did there. I chose a size 14 with the C cup option. For sewing, I'm going to show you how to put this together. It's super easy to put together. I'm warning you though, I'm not sewing the raglan sleeve like you might be accustomed to. I'm sewing it on the round. I just prefer the way that this feels like that with how I'm sewing it rather than sewing it on the flat. It's just another way that you can see. Maybe you haven't tried it like that and I prefer it like that. So let's see how to put this together. We're using 5/8 seam allowance and I'm going to show you how to finish the facing, which is a little different as well. These are the front and back pieces for the top. This one is the back. You can tell because the neckline is higher like that and the armholes a little longer. This is the front. They're both cut on the fold. They both have neckline facings. So that's the front, also cut on the fold, and the back also cut on the fold. All of these pieces have double notches and single notches along the neckline and the armholes, so it's easy to know which one is which one. And the facings also have those markings. This is a raglan sleeve. As you know, with raglan sleeves, they do form part of the neckline, and we have this facing for the raglan sleeve as well. So the neckline facing is going to have a lot of little seams, and they're going to follow the shape that we have on the top. These facings are single layer, they're not interfaced. It's meant to be like that because all of this is going to have elastic. So we really don't want structured facings with interfacing for an elasticized neckline. I'm going to start by stay stitching the neckline. This is the front. I'm going to stay stitch from the higher point into the center and then flip the fabric and do it the same way just to keep this symmetrical. The seam allowance you will use later for the facing is going to be 5/8. So this is at about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to repeat the same for the front and the back. And remember the raglan sleeve, the top of it is also part of the neckline. So we also need to stay stitch that. I'm going to be sewing my raglan sleeves differently on the round. And I say that on the round because it's not a round sleeve. It's sort of like a U shape. I don't want to sew my sleeves on the flat. I'm going to sew the side seams of the front and the back. I've got them here right sides together. I have already been at the serger and serged all the edges and the bottom separately so I can press my seams open later. So I'm going to get that done. And then once you have the side seam sewn, you get like a U shape. And that's where I insert the raglan sleeve in there and just sew it like that. That means it's not setting on the flat. So I've done the same process with my raglan sleeves. I've serged all the edges and the bottom. And then all I have to do is sew that little seam right there. Now that I've got the side seams and the sleeves sewn, I'm going to turn the sleeves right sides out. I'm going to keep my blouse wrong sides out. And here I can see the single notch and the double notch. Maybe you can't see it, but I've marked them in a red pen. So I'm going to find the sleeve that corresponds with this side. And then you just slide this in and match it up one side and the other. And it turns out to be like a U shape. Here are all the facing pieces that we need to sew together to make this round neckline. This larger lower piece is the front. All of these have notches here on these edges, on the inner edges. The back also has marks there, double notches, here single ones. These are for the raglan sleeves. There's also one there that will match a neckline from the raglan sleeve. And on these short areas, we have singles. And over there, we have doubles. So it's easy to get this little circle made. Remember, all the marks are going to be on the inner edges. So you get it right. We all have to sew it together and make this piece. Now, in the instructions, it mentions stay stitching these on this edge and on that edge. I'm not going to do that. That's too much. I'm just going to be super careful with handling these so that they don't stretch out. Here I'm sewing these little tiny seams. There's 4 of them to sew, 5/8 seam allowance, and then I'm going to press them open. I've matched up the notches around the neckline. Here there were single notches. Up here there's another one. At the back there's double. There's lots of little marks for you to match it up. It'll match 1 to 1. You can see I've got the raw edges here and there. I don't want to serge this yet. I'm going to wait until I have the seam sewn to do that. I want to manipulate the facing the least possible because I didn't stay stitch it. It did not stretch out. I was very careful with it. So now I'm just going to sew this at 5/8 seam allowance. And then I'm going to go ahead and serge this edge right there. I'm trimming the seam allowance down to half just to reduce the bulk right there. I'm going all the way around the neckline. And then I'm going to snip all the way around because it's rounded. This is another presser foot. This has an L on it. It's also a type of blind hem presser foot, but different. When you move this, it moves this edge in or out. So you can actually get whatever seam allowance you want, and it's really helpful. I've set it here to about 1/8 of an inch. Then I'm going to do some understitching. I've extended the facing. The seam allowance is under the facing, and I'm going to sew on the edge. After the understitching is done, I've flipped the facing, pressed it really neatly. I've hand basted it all the way around the neckline. I've also already pressed up my hem allowance for the sleeve. The hem allowance for the sleeve is 1¼ inches. The hem allowance at the bottom is 1½ inches. So I've already got that done. And now we need to sew a whole bunch of casings. Now we sew 2 rows, and the distance between them is the same for the neckline and the sleeves. So we're going to sew from the edge 1/2 inch first, and then from that one, the next one at 3/8 of an inch. And that is going to end up being the channel for where we put in the 1/4 inch elastic. So it's going to be the same for the neckline and for the sleeves, the same distance. I'm going to leave a gap to thread the elastic through, so I'm not going to sew all the way around here. So starting on the same spot, I'm going to use my presser foot as a guide, and I'm going to leave the seam a tad away from the edge of my presser foot, and that's going to be 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to repeat the same for the sleeve, and then it's going to be the exact same thing for the neckline, the same distances. Now the instructions say to sew 1 inch up, it would be there, and then 3/8. But I think it's too narrow. I think when I sew the second one, I'm going to be too close to the edge. So I'm going to sew the first one at 3/4 of an inch and then the 3/8 from there. Here is my Madhu top. Check out this purple broderie anglaise. It's got beautiful, beautiful, the purple can't be any cuter. I totally love it. I think it suits me. My eyes just sing when I see it. And the facing took a little while to do to get a nice result. You know, it's a different type of facing. It's not structured. It's not interfaced. I didn't stay stitch it as you saw. I thought this cotton was not going to distort that much. If I'd used a rayon, for example, then I would have gone through all the stay stitching process, which would have taken ages because there's so many little facings. But for this one, I just decided I'm not going to do it. But I'm warning you, it could stretch out if your fabric is prone to stretching out a lot like rayon does. But this cotton I thought was okay. Now you can see that the channel for the elastic comes further from the edge, so you get this little ruffly effect. Love that. And it's the same on the sleeves and at the bottom. So pretty. I didn't show you the process of threading the elastic through. It did take a little while. I just used the safety pin and then I just closed up the little gaps I left open. Nothing really interesting to see. But let me show you how this looks like on the inside. I have matching serger thread, so I love that. You know, with raglan sleeves, you always press the seam allowance towards the sleeve. It's right there. There's the facing on the inside, the hem on the bottom with the casing. Such a beautiful top. I'm going to show it to you styled 3 ways. I'm going to wear the top 2 ways, the full length that I made it, and then tucked in underneath, which makes it look like I've tucked it into the bottoms that I'm wearing. I think it turned out a little bit more versatile because I added the length, and I'm happy I added the length, although I know the length is controversial here. This is my Madhu top from Seamwork Patterns. I sewed a straight size 14 with a C cup size option, and I made no fitting changes other than making it 1.5 inches longer. This is supposed to be at the waist, and I'm not comfortable with such a short top, or personal preference. And I think it looks balanced for my height. See the elasticated bit at the bottom. Not everything has to highlight the waist when you wear your clothes, and I think this is okay. Or I could also tuck it in and then it looks like blousing over the waistband. So by making it a little bit longer, I have more options, more versatility, and I like it. It's my preference and I'm happy I made that change. Check out that casing, it's so cute. It's got 1/4 inch elastic inside. I think it looks very darling. Raglan sleeves have the same technique as the neckline there at the bottom of the sleeves, and it's the same at the bottom of the hem. Very comfortable top to wear. The neckline is not low, you know, it's not going to turn into an off shoulder. Everything's nice and close to the body at the upper chest, and I can live my life and bend over and do everything I need to do without being afraid of showing my bra or cleavage. So I love it. I love this fabric, this broderie anglaise, 100% cotton in purple is so nice, and I love it with this skirt because it's got the color in the print. I think it's a super nice colorful outfit for me. Here is a monochromatic look. I think it looks nice and balanced because the top being more voluminous and the skirt being more straight silhouette. I think it looks okay. I've got it in its full length at the high hip and I'm quite happy. And because both colors are so similar, there isn't that large contrast of where the hem lies here at the high hip. So I'm all happy. You can disagree, you know, this is all going to be personal preference. I know a lot of you would like it at the waist. I prefer to have mine a little bit longer. But you'll see in the next look that I'm going to wear it tucked in so that it looks shorter. It's just a different style of bottom and I think it's going to look better shorter in the next look. This time I have a knit maxi skirt that's pull on in an athletic knit with a zebra print, and I'm trying to follow a little bit the rule of thirds. The purple top is tucked underneath, so it looks like it's tucked in shorter, so that's the third, and then the bottom 2/3 are the skirt. I think this looks nice and balanced for my height. So I've got options. I can do either or. I think this looks darling with the zebra print. It looks really, really nice. I love the purple, and it's another way I can wear the top. I think I would do the exact same thing if I was wearing a wider set of bottoms, pull-up pants at a wider leg. I would do the exact same thing and fold the blouse underneath to make it look shorter. So options, makes it more versatile to wear, to make it a little bit longer in my opinion. But that's just what I do, and I want to be really happy when I sew. So if length has to be modified a little bit, I'm going to do it. I absolutely love how it turned out. I think if I make it next time, I'll make it exactly the same. The other way I was thinking I could make it is without the casing on the bottom and just let it loose. In that case, the only fabric I would use if I was not going to do this detail at the bottom would be rayon. Because there's quite a lot of ease here, and with a structured fabric, it would sort of tend out away from the body. So I would leave the hem normal with rayon, and then it would just flow nicely and it would be like a little bit of a swing top. That would be lovely as well. Highly recommend. It's a great pattern. It's got super nice instructions, very easy to understand diagrams. Everything's really well explained. Seamwork patterns are great. It's great quality there. And it's free, so grab it before they take it off the offer, because I know in a little while it won't be free anymore. So get it now while you can. I'm going to go ahead and post a photo on Instagram with the hashtag so that I can participate in the challenge. I actually did all the requisites here. I had this from my stash, fabric I bought years ago. I used a free pattern, so I'm being very frugal here. I hope you enjoyed this one. Grab the pattern and I'll see you very soon with more sewing content here at Lifting Pins and Needles.